Hi, and this is Dr. Darwin, the new dentist coach, and welcome to another episode of Ask Dr. Darwin, where you ask questions about your dental care, your dental wishes, or about preparing for a career in dentistry. Whether you're a new dentist that's already graduated, you're a dental student that's getting ready to graduate, or if you're a pre-dental student applying to dental school. You ask the questions and we get these answers to you. Please be sure to, if you like this video, please be sure to share it with other people, other colleagues, but also subscribe to my channel, Dr. Darwin Speaks, as I will be posting every Monday and usually one other day in the week, usually Wednesdays or Thursdays. On today's episode, we're going to be talking to Sergeant and future student dentist DuJuan Smith, who's going to be he's joining us today and going to be telling us a little bit about his experience as a non-traditional student, but also having a couple of questions about getting into dental school. So, Sergeant Smith, good to see you, man. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Good to see you too, Dr. Hayes. How's it going?
Everything's great, man. Everything's great, man. So look, let's get right into it, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your story, and then go right into your question or questions.
All right. So I'm originally from Utica, New York. I've been serving in the military for about 8 years now, but I've recently found a passion to practice dentistry. I have an associate's in mathematics and applied science, and I just finished my bachelor's with Howard University in psychology. I was first going to be a family counselor, but I had a change of heart and started shadowing a dentist and realized that this is a profession I could definitely see myself doing for the rest of my life. So my main questions are, how do I set myself up to be a competitive applicant for dental school? I'm at a point where I'm searching for some really good post-bac programs for non-traditional students because I'm 32 years old. I do have quite a bit of the science courses completed, the anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, bio 1 and 2, physics 1 and 2, but they're all seven years old and the grades weren't competitive. So I was just hoping that I could, get some guidance as to if I should retake these classes. I'm pretty sure I have to because they passed that 5-year window. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just trying to figure out the best course of action because I'll be leaving the military next year to pursue this dream.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, thank you so much for your service. I, too, served in the military during the time of 9/11. Had some service. So, again, man, thanks so much for your service. We appreciate you. Good questions, man, on how to become a competitive applicant and whether or not is it a good idea to retake some of these courses, especially since they may be a little bit out of date. I think the first thing for you is really, really coming up with a timeline. That's going to be the first thing. So we need to look at your timeline. When are you getting out?
My contract is up August 2019.
Okay, so August 2019. And what's will you be where you are right now? You're stationed in Alaska, correct?
Yeah, I'm currently in Alaska, but I'm from New York State. So I'm looking at Hofstra, Columbia, Stony Brook, and NYU's Postback.
So you're going back to New York, basically.
Yes, sir.
At least that's the plan. Immediately after 19, so August of 19. So one of the things that you may have to determine is whether or not you're going to apply for getting admitted in 19 for the class of 2023, or you're going to apply in the 1920 cycle, so for the class of 2024. That's one of the things that you need to kind of determine right now. So what are your thoughts on that?
I would say the earlier one. So 2023 graduation date.
Okay, so 2023. So if we do what I call like a reverse engineering, where you set your date, which is you want to graduate 2023, which means you're going to go back 4 years. That means you got to start dental school in 2019. So
Okay. So yeah, that would have to be later because I still have those 2 years where I have to do my post back. So it'd be like 2019 or 2021, and then 4 years from actually 2021, right?
right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
because otherwise you would be needing to do those post back or some of those courses um, now, for the next
next,
year or
yeah.
so, which
Mhm.
you've taken. Which courses have you taken as far as prerequisites?
Uh, I've taken anatomy and physiology 1 and 2, bio 1 and 2, physics 1 and 2, and um, like college algebra. But those are all like over 5 years old. So I feel like I need to retake all those courses.
Now, is that something that you found through your research that if the classes that you have are over 5 years old that you need to retake them?
Yeah, like 5 to 7 years, yes.
Okay, okay. So, um, so we're really looking more like 2019 through 2021 that you probably will be doing some form of a post-bac program during that time.
Yes.
So you also have to keep in mind that if you're coming out in 2019 and you also, in addition to doing the post-bac program, you're also going to be needing to, I'm sure, going to have to work. Um,
Yes. So yes, I currently have the GI Bill. I have some savings, and then uh, I would, if I have to, come up with like have a part-time job. I'll have some things lined up for me.
okay. Yeah, that's something all to kind of keep in mind because if you're going to be now when you finish your contract in 19, are you getting out of the military or
Yes.
are you going to do reserves?
I was just planning on getting out completely, just so I could focus on my schooling.
Okay, because one of the reasons why I asked that question is as a military person,
Mhm.
especially one that's going to be going to school, you'll have access to use your GI Bill, but also there's several different types of scholarships for dental school. Some of
Okay.
which are extended directly to you because you're active duty or reserve member. So
Mhm.
I'm asking that question because that's all part of your timeline and it's all part of your applying, and you want to make sure that when you do get into dental school, you're able to maximize your ability to qualify for many of the military scholarships. As a health profession scholarship where they pay for all of your 4 years of dental school, and you just have to give them back that time. But if you're active duty or reserve while you're in dental school, you those that time counts. Those 4 years that you're going to be in school, that time counts towards your retirement, especially if
Okay.
you get that health profession scholarship. That's 4 years of dental school and then 4 years that you have to give back. So that's 8 years. That's 8 more years towards your retirement time. So again, I'm asking that question because you may want to consider and figure out how you can stay active and or connected directly to the military, even as a reservist, so that your
Mhm.
time continues to accumulate and it puts you in a better advantage for some of those health profession scholarships. So that also is going to affect your timeline. So I would also consider um, that as it relates to your status.
Okay. Definitely.
Um, because even if you are reserve status and you're doing a postback program, and again, you really need to look at the postback programs. I know there's some that you can do full time. There may be some that you could do part time. I'm not sure.
They are.
They're what? Which ones have you? The ones that you looked into?
Hofstra is full time. Stony Brook is full time. They all give you an option where you could do it in like a year and a half or at your own pace, like which is part time. So all those schools, Columbia is just full time, but NYU, Hofstra, and Stony Brook, you could do full time or part time.
Okay. So that's something that you got to have to kind of figure as far as your timeline and how that fits to your schedule, but also your needs as an individual as far as your day-to-day survival.
Okay.
And you're from New York, so but New York is totally different than Alaska.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you definitely, the cost of living and everything too. So you have to figure that into your plan if you're going to be doing the postback program for full time. Now, family wise, is it just you? You have some family, immediate family?
So I'm married. I've been married for about 3 years now. It'll be 4 this May. Then I have two boys. One is 20 months and one is 21 months and one is 5 months.
Oh wow. Congratulations. Yeah. Yes. So, that may, you have to factor that into your plan as well. Because now, if you were out of the military, completely finished with active duty, then, you would have to, go into civilian life as it relates to jobs. And now you're going to go back to school at the same time and also taking care of your family. So that's something that, of course, you have to add to the mix and have a discussion with your wife as to how that's going to work out for you. But all of that can affect your timeline. Affect your timeline. That's maybe another reason why you may want to consider doing the reserve during your time that you're applying to dental school and doing your postback program. You have some benefits with regards to that with the military. You'll have some possible benefits, whatever you're doing work-wise, and then at the same time, you're doing your postback program, getting the remainder of your requirements done and ready to go for school. So again, that's why I said I think it'd be good. That's why I wanted us to start initially on your timeline, because all of those factors go into your planning and the things that you need. So the second thing is what you mentioned, which was your postback. Postback. So it's really good that you've started already looking at some postback programs. You mentioned NYU, Hofstra, Stony Brook, and Columbia there in New York. You may also want to look at New York Medical College. There's a new dental school that's through the New York Medical College. It's called Toro College of Dentistry. It's one of it's the newest. I think it's number 67 or 68, the newest dental school in the country. They just started their first class. I think it was last year. So with your time frame, by the time that you apply, they would have graduated their first class. But you may also want to look at, since you're going to be in New York, look at a postback program through New York Medical College because they have a connection with the dental school. You've got NYU Dental School, you've got Stony Brook's got a dental school, Columbia, of course, has a dental school. So all of which, it's a good segue into dental school as far as those places where you're doing the postback program have a dental school.
All right, I will.
So I would consider that and add that to your list. And the main thing with the postback program is really making sure that the courses that you need to retake are part of your curriculum and will be accepted as prerequisites. But then you also have to find out what other prerequisites are needed for the schools that you're applying to. So that takes us to the third point, or the third consideration, which is a list of schools. So what do you have in mind what schools you're looking at as far as applying to?
Yes, it'll be NYU, Stony Brook. I'll definitely look at New York Medical College.
Yeah, that's Toro.
And Howard University.
Howard, okay. Now, okay, that's good. That's a good list. That's a good list. Now, with regards to your schools, now you've got 4 that's here that you've already targeted. So I would encourage you to also to look at some more schools. Okay. And for the reasons that you looked and pick these 3 or 4 that you have in your list currently, see how other schools are kind of match up to the ones that you have. You know, NYU, you're aware of largest dental school on the planet, close to 400 students in each class. So you're looking at 1,600 students. So there's some pluses and minuses about that. Stony Brook, much smaller school. I mean, maybe a class of, I don't know, maybe 60, maybe. It's more like a Harvard, I think, that has maybe about 40 or 50 people in their class. Still in New York, though, so that's great. Toro College, like I just mentioned, it's a new dental school that's affiliated with New York College of Medicine. Howard University, your alma mater, all right, down there in D.C. But there's probably some other schools that are similar to those that you may want to consider also. Best thing to help you with that process is becoming a member of ASDA, ASDA, which is the American Student Dental Association. They are the biggest student organization for dental students or pre-dental students. And they have a lot of resources, man, a lot of resources. And they have memberships for pre-dental students like yourself. It's pretty nominal, but it's worth it. It has a lot of value. You, as a member, you'll get access to information as far as a list of all the different dental schools, what the prerequisites are, what the averages are on exams or GPAs as far as students that have been admitted. And they have that data for, you know, the last 4 or 5 years. But it really helps you zone in on particular schools where you're looking to go to and what the prerequisites or what the standards are typically for people that are applying to those schools. So I would definitely would recommend you becoming real familiar with ASDA. And, you know, they have a couple tabs where it's just for pre-dental students applying to dental school. They'll have information about the schools, but they also have information about the DAT. The DAT, which during these next 2 years, you're going to need to take.
Yes.
That is your ticket. That is your ticket to not only entry into dental school, but possibly entry and the receipt of some scholarships. All right. Okay. I say that because the DAT is usually the one indicator, one of many indicators, but the one indicator as to how you're going to do with like the first 2 years of dental school, because it's all, you know, all your basic sciences that you're going to be dealing with. Typically schools, and you'll see when you start searching schools and looking at the differences, schools on average, they may have on average DAT scores anywhere where it's an 18 overall average all the way up to a 21 or a 22. But for you to be a very, very competitive applicant, one of the things that's going to help you be very competitive is that DAT score. The higher your DAT score, the more tickets, the more of these tickets you're going to be able to have for yourself for being entered or being accepted into dental school, or at least getting an interview, I should say, getting that first step. You got to get the interview. Not only that, but you know, lots more opportunities for those that have a great DAT score and also interview well and have some other great attributes about themselves as far as their candidacy. But that DAT score, well, is usually the first indication as to which interviews you're going to get and which interviews from schools you're not going to get. So you will need to factor in these next 2 or 3 years taking the DAT. And I think one of the things that's going to make you a competitive applicant is in your preparation for the DAT, taking some type of prep course.
Okay.
Taking a prep course. There's a lot that's out there. Just some that I recommend. I don't have any affiliations with them, but you have a Kaplan DAT. They have dental boot camp. Oh man, why am I drawing a blank here? There's a couple more. There's Crack the DAT. Crack the DAT. Another one is iPrep. iPrep for the DAT. So you can actually Google DAT prep classes, and it'll come up and you'll get a whole list of different ones. At some point, as an investment, one of the things that's going to help you become a more competitive applicant is doing a prep course that's going to get you and help you prepare to, you know, smashing that DAT. Because if you smash that DAT as one element of your application, the more looks you're going to get from schools that want to invite you for an interview. And that's the first step of getting into dental school. You got to get an interview. Okay.
Now, once I finished, at what point should I do the DAT? You know, should I complete the whole postbac and have all the classes for the postbac done and then do the DAT, or at what classes need to be done before I take that test?
Right. So that's where you got to do some homework. Your homework is learning more about that DAT. What are the components of it? You have a basic science component, you have a reading comprehension, and you also have what we call a perceptual ability, where you're looking at three-dimensional objects in 2 dimensions and being able to rotate, move, yada, yada, yada. So with you being kind of like a hands-on person as a combat medic, you shouldn't have too many problems with it. But you're going to see some things and some concepts that you haven't been exposed to before. So doing that prep class is going to help you get more exposure, but also make you more familiar with how the questions are asked and what they're looking for. Okay. So those are the things so doing that research on the DAT, and there's some information from the ASDA, it's ASDA.net. What's it? No, I'm sorry. ASDA.org.net. When you go to that website, there's a section just about the DAT and some resources and some general information about how the exam is structured and what the components of the exam are. So your question is, when should you take it? It's very possible that you may be taking it concurrently with the last part of 1 or 2 classes that you're taking for your post-bac program. It all depends on how your classes are stratified in that 2-year program or that 18-month program. I would tell you that you probably want to take it, you know, not too late after finishing that post-bac program, depending on what classes and how the post-bac program is structured as far as the types of classes. But you probably will be studying, doing your post-bac and studying for the DAT at some point, probably around the same time.
Okay.
Because you're going to be using some of that information from your post-bac program to help you study for the DAT. and using that prep class, and vice versa. You're going to be using the information from the prep class. You're going to want to go back to some of your resources from your postback program also. So you're going to be busy, man. I mean, you're going to be working. You're going to be doing your postback program, and then at some point doing your DAT prep. Some people just prefer to just finish up all the postback requirements and then start studying for the DAT, but you'll probably have a little bit of some overlap.
Okay.
And I think that's the best approach. The best approach is based off of your prep class, learning from your prep class, and then also where exactly your specific courses in your postback program, where they fall in the timeline of your 18 months. And okay, which of those courses tie directly into the information that you're learning and studying for the DAT.
Okay.
Yep. So we went over the timeline. We talked about the postback program. We talked about school lists and utilizing ASDA as a reference. And then we talked about the DAT also. I think just those 4 things, man, you have a lot that's going to be on your plate that you can, that you're going to need to focus on, that are probably the most important and foundational steps in helping you become a better applicant. As we get closer to you taking the DAT, the next step after that would be more, preparing your application and getting your personal statement together. That's going to be key, because that's another component of your candidacy, which is your personal statement. Things that they want to see in your personal statement relate to you. Who are you? How did you become interested in dentistry? What do you know about dentistry? What do you know about the rigors of school and also the rigors of practice after school? What kind of experience have you had in the dental field? Schools want you to be aware that just as much as dental school is challenging, the practice of dentistry, or the business of dentistry and being a dentist, is challenging also. What do you know about that? What experiences have you had as far as shadowing and working in someone's office and seeing the different layers of the business of dentistry? Because it's more than just seeing patients also. So those types of experiences, those types of exposures are things that you're going to want to include in your personal statement.
Okay.
Again, that's the 5th thing, and that's part of your application, and that's something we got some time we can work on. But things that you're doing now, you can keep a little journal and, write down some highlights as far as your experiences and things that you like about what you're doing now and how that translates directly into the practice of dentistry and what you're going to be doing. So I would, if you haven't already, maybe I would consider starting a journal. Start journalizing some of the experiences that you've have had as a combat medic, and start thinking of how that relates to how you envision you providing and contributing to the profession of dentistry. Also, in your personal statement, you're going to be wanting to include things about how you envision and how you want to practice. How are you going to contribute to not only the school but to the profession overall? What's your vision for yourself as a dentist, as an oral health care provider? And tell a story. Tell a story. Why are you, your story is what makes you unique. Your passion for getting into the military and the things that you're doing now, interacting with patients and people, and then you know, you had a change, you're like, oh, dentistry, that's for me. You know, you want to be able to speak about that in your personal statement also, because that's what makes you unique. That's what has kind of fueled the fire for you to apply. And that's why we're talking right now, to figure out, you know, I have this passion. Now I'm going to make a way to make sure that I can get into dental school and become a dentist, so that I can really turn the volume up on this passion that I have. That also needs to be in your personal statement. Yeah, so I think those are the things that are going to make you a competitive applicant, at least getting started. You know, getting started. I think one of the things that we're going to need to do over the course of time is kind of revisit this, but as a second layer, as a part two, because you still have some things that you're going to need to do that are going to help you with your candidacy. You know, there's a couple other things that I really didn't mention, but I'll just briefly say, going to what we call dental days. Many schools throughout the country have dental days, or they have what we call impressions day. And as you're getting closer to applying, and we're talking about maybe 2020 applying, and 21 probably applying in 2020, 2021, probably more like 2021. I'm looking at for the class of 2025. But in these next 3 years, you want to add to your list of things to do is attend what we call an impressions day. Howard has one. I'm not sure if NYU has one, but basically it's a day. It could be a day or two where the schools invite prospective students, pre-dental students, and show them what a day or 2 days of a life of a dental student is like. And it's usually a nice structured program. Places that I would recommend that you go to are, you know, University of Maryland has one. I'm just biased because that's my school and I've attended their Impressions Day, and it was there, but it was a great program. Howard has one. University of Louisville has one. And typically they're run, some of them for the Impressions Day are run through the SNDA, which is the student organization of the NDA, which is the National Dental Association. So the SNDA usually at most of the schools will have what we call an Impressions Day. And the more that you can go to, especially the schools that more specifically the schools that you're interested in, the better. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to be able to meet other students from around the country, pre-dental students. You can start networking with them, very, very key. You'll learn a lot from other people that are doing the same thing that you want to do or that are applying to dental school. So networking is key, but you also get a direct introduction to that particular school, one of which you're interested in. You may be able to meet the students that are there that may be on the admissions committee. You may be able to meet faculty members that are on the admissions committee. Now you've got face-to-face contact with them. They know who you are, and they can be ready for when your application comes through the pipe. Mm-hmm. All right, because that's one of the things that you want to really try to focus in on is how can you make yourself stand out in this application process. In 2015-16, there were over 12,000 applicants for dental school. Guess how many got in?
Like 1,000.
Little more than that. Just a little bit over 6,000. So about half. Half the people got in for the slots, and there's anywhere from 5,800 to I think it's like 6,200 spots for each class. So 12,000, 6,000, about half. You got a 50-50 chance of getting in dental school. So there's other 50, for whatever reason, whether it be the DAT, their application, they didn't interview well, or maybe they didn't, do enough networking, whatever it is. They have to reapply. So your competition is tough, man. You got a 50-50 chance, and it may be a little bit less than that, actually, but just based on the numbers, that have been reported from ADEA, which is the American Dental Education Association. That's what you're looking at. So you got to figure out through your candidacy and your application how you're going to stand out, how you're going to get out of obscurity from everybody else that's applying. And attending those impressions day and getting face-to-face with students at the schools that you're interested in, possibly meeting the faculty members at the schools you're applying to that may also be on the admissions committee, or things that you can do, or strategies and tips that you can do that can help. So that's some as we get a little bit closer in 2020, in 2021, those are some things that I would recommend that you look at and participate in. Those things are going to help you be more competitive also.
Okay.
I would also look at schools in New York. I would also look at some other schools in New York that actually may not have a dental school, but have a good science or STEM curriculum, or schools that actually promote that they have their graduates go on to apply to and get into medical and dental schools or pharmacy schools. Any of those schools that have that type of designation are schools that you want to do your post-bac at.
Okay.
So that might be something, you may want to Google Postback Programs for pre-med students and in New York or whatever it is. If New York's the area that you're definitely going to come back to, okay? And if it's not in New York City, there's lots of schools throughout the whole state. I know you said you're from Utica, New York, correct?
Yes.
So there may be, upstate. Yeah. So there's definitely some schools upstate that you can look at too, as also as it relates to job and family and everything else. A little bit cost of living is a little bit cheaper than being around in the city. Because everything that you're planning on doing with post-bac, with taking the DAT, applying to dental school, all those things, man, cost money. So you want to really, do your homework as to what that's going to cost you so that you have a number that you can look at and say, all right, well, with this number, that means I'm going to have to work so many hours and do so many other things outside of me applying to dental school. So so it's more real for you so that you can plan and really be strategic and intentional in all of your actions. So, I would look at, as a final piece, as you're preparing, I would look at the Postback schools, the cost for them across the board. I would look at what it's going to cost to take the DAT, but more importantly, is taking one of those prep courses. What's the cost for the prep course? And add those two line items, the cost for the DAT and the prep course, as another cost that's going to be associated with what you're doing. And then the other cost you need to look at is the application. There's an application service that all dental students utilize when they're applying to dental school. It's a standardized application service. And when you go on to ASDA net.org, they will also talk more. There's a tab on there about the dental school application process and how it's done. But that application process, there's a fee for that too, a couple $100. And then depending on how many schools you apply to, it may be extra for each of the schools after a certain number of 10 or 15 or whatever it is. But that's a fee, that's a cost that you need to figure in, because you will spend it. You will spend it, and you need to have the money for it, and you don't want that to hold you back as part of your application process. So you need to find out what that cost is. And those 3 costs will give you an idea as to what this investment that you're making, that you will need to make even before you start dental school. So I would look at that also. So I think looking at all those things we just mentioned are the things that are going to really, really help you become the best applicant that you can be and be competitive across the continuum. Because like I said, based on the statistics right now, you got about a 50-50 chance of getting into dental school the first time.
Okay.
And I actually think it's a little bit less than that, depending on what school you apply to. I think, some schools there's a higher probability of you getting in versus other schools. I mean, not that NYU is a lesser quality of school than Harvard, but NYU, you got 375 spots versus at Harvard, you got like 40 or 50 spots. So, I mean, you already know it's going to be a little bit more challenging to get into a place where there's less potential seats in a class versus a much bigger class.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So I hope that's helpful. Anything else as we wrap up?
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. Very informative. I guess once I do get to the dental school part, I'm assuming, the whole perceptual ability thing that'll come with practice. But is there anything that you recommend I do to help with like manual dexterity? Like I hear that's a big thing that's a must. That they may ask me about that. In my interview, what have I done to improve on it or establish it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, we got a 3-year timeline, it looks like right now. So you will have plenty of time through working in people's offices, maybe some chairside assisting. Again, the impressions days at certain schools, they have some exercises that are kind of introduce you to improving your manual dexterity. But also, man, I would tell you, we have one resource at your fingertips 24 hours a day, and that's YouTube.
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff on YouTube that you can find that'll give you some direct insight and some direct experiences on things that you can do to improve your manual dexterity. Whether it's building things with your hands, if you like that kind of stuff, or if you're an artist and doing some kind of arts and crafts, but also just working with your hands, passing instruments like, chair side, like they do in the clinics and in private practice. At some point, you're going to be having to wax up teeth, shapes of teeth, and being able to duplicate and replicate what you see here, and you got to do it in wax. So there are some exercises that you can find out on YouTube that'll help you start to strengthen and help you practice those things. But that's why they have that perceptual ability section also, because they want you also to be able to move things in your from your hands to your mind and move it in different dimensions and be able to see it. And some of those exercises, when you take those prep classes, they will actually have models that you can work with your hands that'll help you learn perceptually how they fit or how they work or don't work. And that's also touching upon your manual dexterity as well.
Okay.
Yeah, man. So look, I'm so proud of you, man, for reaching out as a quote unquote non-traditional student. Even though you said you were a psych major at Howard.
Yes.
I mean, even as a psych major, man, I'm telling you, you bring a lot to the table as relates to the business side of dentistry. Once you get through the first 2 years, when you start talking to patients and dealing with them and their emotions and their fears and why this and their hesitations, all of that is right up your alley. And usually the people that have done the best, I think, in dental school are a good combination of the basic sciences, but also the science and dealing with other people and building relationships with other people. Because at the end of the day, man, it's like this. We are in a business that has a service, but we're really in the relationship business. Our service is providing, our business is providing a service or healthcare and relating to people and helping them achieve their goals, right?
Yep.
Basic science is a foundation, but more importantly is how you deal and interact with people, how you make them feel, how you talk to them, how you listen, why people may be acting a certain way, which you'll be able to tap into that with your background. But, not everyone who's a biology or chemistry major means that they're going to just do well in dentistry. A lot of non-traditional students do very well in dentistry.
All right.
And you're going to be one of them.
Yes. I'm committing.
Good. Well, let's also commit to kind of working together, because we got some time here. We got about 2 or 3 years where, you got some foundational things you really need to get grooved in on. And like I tell even my residents, it's a process, not a sprint. Even dental, the whole process of applying to dental school it's a marathon, so that's why it's very important that and that's why I wanted us to start off with the timeline and figuring out what's going to be really realistic based on your individual situation. And with that timeline, coming up with some targets and some dates that we can kind of put down on paper so that makes sure that we're staying within the process and getting things done.
Really appreciate you taking out the time to talk with me and provide me with this mentorship. Really appreciate it.
Hey man, it's no problem. You'll have your turn in about 10, 15 years.
Look forward to it.
That's good. So look, thanks so much for joining me today. If you guys out there have questions like Sgt Smith and you're looking to apply to dental school, but you're kind of figuring out, not sure how you're gonna do it, or you need some help along the way, shoot me an email at newdentistcoach@gmail.com, newdentistcoach@gmail.com, and we'll get your question and get you an answer and hopefully we can help you get along your way and get you closer to your target of becoming a dentist or a specialist or entrepreneur in dentistry. Hey, Sgt Smith, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you. And thanks again for your service. And we're going to be in touch. And we're going to get you into dental school for the class of 2025.
That's right, Dr. Hayes.
All right, man. Take care. You be good.
All right, you too.
All right, bye.